Hi there, Tom Jeffries, the Hotel Vancouver here at the Agora Wealth Symposium, 10th annual. It's called The Decade of Reckoning. One of the key speakers, and we're so glad he's back in town, is Mr. Doug Casey, of course, one of the world's best known investors, and also one of the best commentators in the business. Doug's website, he's got many of them, but start jump off point would be caseyresearch.com. Doug, it's good to see you back in Vancouver.
Thanks, Tom.
Let's talk about a new publication you've got for your viewers around the world. What's coming up?
Well, we have a weekly publication called Conversations with Casey, where I talk about whatever looks like it's important in the world at that time. So I welcome anybody to come to caseyresearch.com and just take a subscription to Conversations with Casey, and I hope you're amused.
Well, you put a lie to the old saying that economics is the dismal science, because every time we see you speaking or we read your stuff, we get a lot of laughs, which is a hard deal these days. The topic for conversation here at the Hotel Vancouver is sort of chapter 2. Last year was the Greater Depression. This year it's the Greater Depression, what's next? So what's next, Doug?
Well, everybody, of course, is looking at Obama as the Messiah, the Savior. He's going to kiss everything and make it better. And my feeling is that anything that he can change, he's changing in the wrong direction. So it's very unfortunate.
How does he compare to Mr. Bush, the late?
Well, he's more intelligent than Bush, that's for sure. But Bush was singularly ignorant, unintelligent, pig-headed, arrogant. I mean, the man was almost devoid of virtues. So certainly Obama's an improvement over him, because Obama raps good, he's smooth, he's comforting, but that's offset by the fact that his policies are, they're not an improvement over Bush's in any way. I mean, from a foreign policy point of view, Obama, yeah, I guess he's better, because he's not like an angry chimpanzee hooting and panting at other countries around the world. So that's better.
Right.
But as far as what he's doing the same damn thing that Bush is doing. He's still got the concentration camps, he's still got the wars, and he might well start another one, and he's still got massive military spending. So there's no change at all from that point of view. And economically, it would be hard to be worse than Bush, but Obama's doing it.
Well, Doug, I'm sort of looking at the list of characters in Mr. Obama's administration. Wait a second, isn't this the same cast of you-know-whos that got us into this mess in the first place?
Yes, they're the same set of worm tongues that surrounded the moronic Bush. I mean, it's just perverse. I don't know why the American people haven't turned out in the streets with pitchforks and torches to have these people riding rails, tarring and feathering them. I mean, they're horrible people.
I wish I was a fly on the wall when you're watching television like we all were when Hank Paulson came up before the end of the year with a 7-page document waving it in our face saying, if we don't sign this, the world's ending. I bet you were very amused.
It's criminally stupid what these people are doing. It's not only the wrong thing, it is the exact opposite of the right thing. It's completely perverse. It directs more money towards Washington, more money towards the buddies of people in Washington, and it's all coming out of the pockets of not only the current generation of Americans, but worse, all that debt is the next generation and the generation after are being, in effect, turned into indentured servants or medieval serfs, having to pay this debt off. I urge, let me say something that will impress people as shocking and radical. The national debt of the U.S. should be defaulted on now. It will be defaulted on through inflation in the future, but I think that's even more dishonest than defaulting on it now. Why? Because it'll punish people that lent money to the U.S. government. It'll teach them a lesson that they won't soon forget. And they deserve to be punished for subsidizing the kind of things the U.S. government has been doing over the years. So, but that's just one radical step that I would take to cure the problem.
I wonder what your reaction is to Goldman Sachs' role in all this mashpuka, Doug.
Oh, I mean, these guys are bound to get themselves into a lot of trouble sometime when the after Obama's out of office, and I think the chances of his being reelected in 2012 are slim and none.
Really?
And Slim's out of town. No, things are going to be so bad by 2012 that people are going to want something new and different, anything but Obama, because things will have gotten worse for all kinds of reasons under his rule. I don't know who we're going to get next time, but to make people happy and point some blaming fingers, I think these guys at Goldman, they should get out of Dodge because they're going to be prosecuted and hung by their heels.
As you walk around Vancouver here, we're seeing here, especially on the West Coast, everybody on the newspapers and TV, the usual suspects saying, hey, what recession? Everything's great, back in the pool, low interest rates, get some real estate, everything's groovy. Hey, we're on the golden track here. Are they making a mistake?
Yeah, I think they're making a big mistake. We've had an artificial boom. Look, since the end of the last depression in 1946, we've had a long boom. The first part of the boom was real, was legitimate. It was based on savings and other things. But the last part of the boom was phony, based on debt. And unfortunately, that has evidenced itself more than anything else in real estate prices. And Canada in general, and Vancouver in particular, is not going to be immune from what's happening all over the world now. If there's a good bid for something you have here in Vancouver, sell it. And rent for a few years to see what's going to happen, because I just can't see that they're going higher.
Let's talk about the global outlook. I keep hearing, I'm going to throw up if I keep hearing two things, globalization and decoupling. I look at China myself from my perspective, and I don't think everything's great going on in China. They've got their own internal problems. How are they going to save us?
Well, the good news about China is that the average entrepreneur in China is much freer, subject to less regulation, less taxes, than the average entrepreneur in either the US or Canada. So this augurs well for China in the future. Another thing that augurs well for them is the fact that these people know how bad things can get. That's within living memory, and they still want to work hard and save. This is another difference between the Chinese and the Americans. But on the downside, most of the production that they're engaging in is directed towards Western economies, which have overconsumed and are not able to do that anymore. So you're going to have a lot of unemployment in China, and those workers that are filling the cities are going to be unhappy and restive. China's had all kinds of riots and revolutions for over several thousand years. Why should now be any different from the past? And of course, there's this thing with the Muslims in the West. That's not going to go away either.
Looking at one of your recent columns and interviews, you're talking about the U.S. Constitution, how in effect it was a pretty darn good document off the top. But now we're looking at a Constitution as a student. I don't even recognize it. Mr. Bush and his band of folks made a lot of changes to your Constitution that seemed just absolutely stunning, Doug.
Oh, the Constitution of the United States is a dead letter.
Really?
Yes. The only thing in the Constitution that's enforced are meaningless technical issues, like you've got to have 2 senators per state, and the president has to be born in the U.S., and technical things like that. But the heart of the Constitution, which was supposed to defend the individual against the state, total dead letter. I mean, you read it, and none of it applies anymore. It's all been parsed and interpreted out of existence. No, forget about it.
I hear the numbers, Doug, that we've reading about security, and yet you fly everywhere. I've flown recently quite a number of times. I don't see any security that's changed in the last few years. I still see the guy with the wand going, no big go ahead. Where's all the money going? Is this all a big sham, for lack of a better word?
Yes, it's a scam. It's just another swindle. It amazes me where they found 50,000 people that work for the TSA, who are these morons that are wanding you, right, and so forth. What were those people doing, these middle-aged people, before they went to work wearing uniforms and going through other people's dirty laundry? What kind of human beings are these people that would do that type of thing with their fellow citizens? 50,000 of them, for God's sake, and they're arrogant and officious and self-righteous, and they serve no useful purpose either. It's just perverse, like so many things that are going on in today's world. But it's going to get much worse over the next few years.
Well, we also would like to point out, too, at your recent speech, because we can't go into everything you spoke here in Vancouver, but also you talked about down the road, there's always going to be a bright future. There's a lot of bright people out there. Things will be different, I guess, is to paraphrase you. But one thing that doesn't change is every time we read your stuff here at HowStreet.com and readers around the world, we learn something. It's entertaining. Congratulations again. It's always great to see you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that.
Doug Casey, Casey Research, in case you haven't visited. Mr. Casey is an annual visitor, hopefully more than once, here to Vancouver. On behalf of Doug Casey, this is Tom Jeffries, the Hotel Vancouver. We're at the Daily Reckonings, well, actually, the Agora Wealth Symposium's 10th year in Vancouver. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Comments made on How Street Video and HowStreet.com are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at HowStreet.com. How Street Video is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.